Will Donald Trump achieve peace in our time? He says Russia's very bloody war on Ukraine could be nearing its end after he held talks with both sides. The US president says Mr. Putin had agreed to start talks, quote, immediately. However, their Ukrainian counterpart, Mr. Zelensky, has warned his country won't accept any bilateral agreements on its fate in its absence. We'll talk to Greg Swenson shortly, chairman of Republicans Overseas, and also Cormac Smith, former Ukraine Foreign Minister advisor. First, Sergiy Petukhov, former Deputy Minister of Justice in Ukraine, of course. Sergiy, good afternoon to you. Nice to have you with us. Just give us your assessment, your response, firstly, to what we're hearing coming from Mr. Trump.
Good afternoon, Ian. So, President Trump said that he wants to deal with Russia to stop this war, and he wants this quickly. And it seems that he's serious on delivering on it. So the peace talks have been started and launched by the phone calls that he made with Mr. Putin and then the Ukrainian president, Mr. Zelensky. He set the scene by saying that, well, Ukraine will not join NATO in the immediate future. And also there's low chances of Ukraine regaining all of the occupied territories. So some exchange is possible. So this is the limitation that is pronounced by the President Trump, and I think he will start from this, trying to get the best deal possible. What is important is that Ukraine is included in this conversation because ultimately any negotiations will end up in agreement that will have to be accepted by Ukrainian people as just and serving their interests. So for that, Ukraine has to be present at the negotiating table and not waiting outside for the result to be forced on the country. Secondly, really important is to have the serious security guarantees. What we don't want to see is some sort of a quick deal that results in lifting of the sanctions against Russia, allowing Putin to regain its economic strength and launch another attack in 5 years or 10 years' time, as he did after the first attack, except annexing Crimea in 2014. So we are looking at the security guarantees that will serve the lasting peace, not give buying time for Putin to launch another attack. And thirdly, this plan will definitely have to include how Ukraine will be reconstructed and rebuilt, whether it's going to be the Russian money that is frozen in the EU and the US used for these purposes, and these are dozens of billions of Russian money, or the money will come from somewhere else. Without this, there's not going to be a peace in Ukraine. Ukraine has been shattered by the Russian bombings all over. Many millions of people left the country. And in order for them to come back, they have to be sure about the security situation and have the jobs. Yeah. And for that, there's a lot of funding required.
Mr. Trump wouldn't confirm that Ukraine were an equal part of this negotiation when he was asked that question. One would assume that would be disturbing to Mr. Zelensky and Ukrainian people. That is surely not the point to begin a discussion by telling one party you're not really in the same league as the other person at the negotiating table. That's going to be problematic. And also, as you just alluded to as well, US Defence Chief Peter Hegseth telling European counterparts that returning to the pre-2014 borders was an illusionary goal. I mean, these will be real problems for Zelensky.
Now, firstly, of course, Ukraine wants to be on equal footing at these negotiations, and the statement is very unfortunate. Let's see what are going to be the practical consequences of that. This can be reversed at any point of time. This is just a figure of speech, not hopefully an official position, and Ukraine will be invited to any talks wherever and whenever they happen. With respect to the return of a territory, it has been stated by Zelensky that Ukraine currently has no military strength to take them back by force. At the same time, no agreement will really is possible where Ukraine will legally recognize the annexation of those territories. Ukrainian people will just not accept that. So it seems that the space for the deal is where the status of the occupied territories will not be regulated. Some sort of armistice and security line will be drawn. Hopefully, some of the peacekeepers in a big number necessary to ensure the peace and security at this contact line will be regulated, and the question on the legal status of this territory will be, left in the gray zone. And we've seen in many conflicts where those kind of questions are not seen as a priority. So, in a way, this statement does not destroy the chances of a peace agreement. It just sets the limits.
Sergiy, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that. Sergiy Petukhov, who's the former Deputy Minister of Justice in Ukraine.